side clarification on rigor. All right. When you talk about rigor, as we all know, is about how you explain your factors. Okay. Rigor, usually we have two kinds of rigor. Okay. The first rigor is how you explain factors and you link to the model. Okay. So one example is within demand and supply universe, how you explain things like change in income. If you want to say change in income, then there's a change in demand. Okay, they will not prompt you, but you're expected to know that in this ... you have to put in certain things. So what do you put in under the ... When there is a change in income, before you can tie it to demand, you have to talk about a certain concept. What is it? Starts with a Y, followed by E. See, I'm very charitable in the morning because I know we're all not fully awake. So it's a Y, E followed by D. So YED, right? YED. Correct? And do you know what to explain when you talk about YED? 3 things. Don't worry, we'll go through all this when we start revising. YED, you have to explain 3 aspects. The definition, the sign, the magnitude. So this is one example of rigor. Okay? And if we are talking about market structure, we also need to explain rigor, right? Let's say we highlight that there's been a change in wages. And you have to tie it to the equilibrium price and output and profits of the firm. You cannot just say, oh, because of rising wages, this is what happens. No, you need to explain that wages, it's a variable cost which varies positively with output. So because of higher variable costs, you will end up with higher marginal cost, higher average cost. Okay. Econs, it's not so much about getting the right answer, you know. Okay. Why? When you talk about the right answer, we are not looking at a calculated number, whether this is in line with the mark scheme. No. At the end, we are all looking at whether you have the right rigor. Okay. And by rigor, we are talking about all these things you memorize from the school notes. Okay. Hello. Good to see you. So macroecons, we are very familiar. Yes. Whenever you talk about a change in interest rates, you know you need to highlight this thing about big ticket items. Big ticket items, a change in C, right? So these are examples. I will not go further because I think you're quite familiar with things like, oh, expected profitability of investments. Okay, all these relate to rigor. Okay. Another aspect of rigor is when you explain your ADAS. Sorry, when you explain your diagrams. So these things you can generalize and see them as things you memorized. Okay? Before the exam, you committed time to memorizing them. And when you go to the exams, you regurgitate. They will help you score. But econs is not just a memory game. Neither is it a pure intuition game. Okay? They want to see that you study. So when you explain your diagram, demand and supply, we have the adjustment to equilibrium process, right? Adjustment to equilibrium process. Some schools call it the market adjustment process. Some other schools call it the price adjustment process. Okay, it's the thing where you say, oh, there's going to be a shortage, upward pressure on price. When the price goes up, yada, 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 certain things are happening. Okay? Ken? So this is, if you just join us, okay, I'm just giving you a sense of the rigor that we have been dealing with in econs. Econs is about rigor. Econs is about memory work. Okay? Adjustment to equilibrium process. Market structure. Don't forget, you also need to assume the firm is profit-driven. Right? Assume the firm is profit-driven and hence it produces where the rising MC cuts MR. Rings a bell? Then you have to say, oh, so that was my equilibrium output, that was my equilibrium price. I am not putting market failure here because I trust many of you know what is expected. When you talk about externalities, some schools even give students 7 steps to memorize. Have? Huh? Some of you have it, some of you don't have it, but 7 steps, okay? So macro, we always talk about how to explain the shifts in the curves. Okay, your AD, your AS, both short run and long run. And that's what I've included in the macro console notes. Okay, so sometimes it is possible to revise econs from a marked scheme perspective, you know. Okay, so when I say marked scheme perspective, we know level 3 requires what? Anyone remembers? 3 things. Level 3 starts with a B, followed by a C, and BCC, right? Balance, content, context. As we do revision,